I'm Brent Leary.
Paul Greenberg.
Excuse the intrusion. It's
Oh,
the CRM Playaz Sports Talk Show.
well, yeah, I think that's inexcusable.
So excuse the inexcusable intrusion.
But
Boy, that's too much.
yeah, you know what? The level of thought that goes into like sorting that out on a Friday afternoon, especially, is well beyond literally my brain cells' ability.
I could have said pardon my disruption, but that one's already taken.
Yeah, well, we could have said pardon the intrusion, excuse the disruption. we could play with words all day.
That would be the whole show if we did that.
Right.
So
Thanks for listening.
Yeah. See you later.
Alan.
All right. Now it is excuse the intrusion. It's Friday afternoon. It's CRM and sports, or actually today is probably going to be more just sports and sports.
Yeah, I'm thinking the same thing. I have a couple of CRM maybe-ish things we could talk about, but sort of like so I got a topic actually. It would kind of give us at least the cover story that we're still covering CRM-ish stuff.
So I've got one, by the way.
All right. Do you want to start or do you want me to start? Either way.
Yeah, go ahead. You got it. Go ahead.
All right. So here's the thing. Look at every single league. You have hockey, NHL. Hey, Adrian. Wow, I haven't seen you for a while.
Vanilla. I think we just became connected on LinkedIn like a couple weeks ago after like years.
Yeah, he's a good one. This one. Still with Vanilla Forums, I assume. Rich. Wow.
Haven't seen Rich in a while.
We literally saw him. Right. That's the last time we saw him. Well, I saw him in December. I'm sorry. I did see him in December. Hey, man.
What's funny is all these guys we're seeing on LinkedIn, and the one guy that for whatever reason just never shows up as himself is Finn. He only comes up as LinkedIn user for whatever reason.
I don't know, there must be some privacy thing in his settings that he's set that is messing that up.
Or maybe it's some kind of, since he's in Germany, maybe there's some kind of national country thing that has to be done.
Who knows? He's not even on today, so we don't have to.
Sorry, Sven. We tried.
We did. We will, and yeah. No, I told Adrian, you're with me. You and me both. Well, you know what? Actually, maybe Adrian, maybe, I'm not promising, but we might be bringing you on to find out what the hell you're missing. But here's the thing. So we've got the NHL, we've got Major League Baseball, we've got the NFL, we've got the NBA, we've got MLS, we've got all these different leagues who are now at a point where they're starting to consider going live again. And they're all, the NHL, I think the way they're operating is they're going to do a 24 game playoff rather than 16. And that's it. I don't know about the NBA yet. Baseball is looking at an 82 game live season with a million like clauses and caveats in pay and safety that are being worked out between the Major League Baseball profession, their union and the players union and the management. MLS, I haven't heard what they're doing at all. And the NFL, as far as they're concerned, until they hear otherwise, are doing live in stadium things, which is probably stupid, right? Given that they're in the fall when the second wave is kind of expected.
And right? They play in stadiums that hold up to like 100,000 people.
Right. So basically they will be ground zero for the new infection, right? Congratulations. NFL once again makes a brilliant management decision.
We should say not all teams get sellouts to their games. So, yeah, right. I'm not going to point out anybody.
True that. So here's what I'm wondering. I mean, first of all, let's start with the big question. Should anything actually be live at this point? Should we have live performances? Look, the NFL is so wrong about doing live fans in seats that they're not even worth talking about. They just continually make decisions that are only good for themselves, right? That to me, as far as the quality of league ownership and management goes, they're the worst. Okay, just by far the worst. Okay, they don't think about anything but the NFL. They don't think about at all the fact that fans are going to get sick, players are going to get sick if they do something that dumb. Unless they basically, the way they put it was, they have to be medically forbidden, effectively medically forbidden, meaning they're going to come out and say you shouldn't do this. Somebody has to come and tell them. But their default is the equivalent to me of, in way worse results, of opt out, right? Which is something you should never do, right? Baseball, they're in the middle of acrimonious battle with the players on pay scales mostly, and that's, to me, ultimately, you either want to play or you don't want to play. But do you play? Right.
Well,
so what do you think?
I see. This is where I think if it's gonna impact the way the game is played, you just can't do it. I'm not talking about fans or anything in the stands, because I think that's just ridiculous to even think about right now. But baseball, they're thinking about doing baseball, but how can you play baseball the way you played baseball before the pandemic and be safe about it? Like, if you got to play at the plate, you got a guy coming chugging in, he's either going to try to take out the the catcher, or do something where there's going to be some kind of contact, some kind of physical contact. What are you going to do now? Have a rule where you can't do that? I mean, you're gonna, well, you better go back to third because you can't have a I don't see how you can play the game the way the game was meant to be played, with that. Now, tennis, I think you could do tennis.
Yeah.
I think you could do something like tennis, because it's especially, singles, maybe not doubles, but singles. You could do that because there is no real contact. You don't really have to change your way that you play tennis, because there's a lot of social distance, between, that. But baseball and football is completely out of it. I don't know how you even think about that. Basketball, there's too much, you're too close, and there's too much sweat going on. I mean, I don't know how you could do any of those kind of those contact related sports until we have a vaccine or something, or I just can't see it until something definitive like that happens.
Well, it came to mind when you were talking about that. That, imagine this, like, one of the rules they issue is every time in baseball, right? Every time you catch a ball in your hand and throw it, you have to wash your hands immediately after.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Let's put it like this. This is the thing. I think it was on ESPN. I mean, when's the last time you saw a baseball game where they weren't spitting, or the pitcher wasn't roughing up or licking the ball or licking their fingers so they can pitch?
I know.
I mean, you just can't really do baseball without doing a lot of that stuff. And I just don't know if, you can take the fans away. I just don't know if you can really be baseball without all these things that, go into being baseball.
Look, any team sport's going to have a contact issue one way or the other. I mean, they all do. Look at soccer. I mean, if you're looking at, it's on a wide, big field, but the players are going at each other. Just imagine, I'll give you a great one. Just imagine live rugby. I mean, those guys are literally, right? Literally got their heads locked, right, and their arms locked, and one of them coughs, and everyone goes, ah! Right? It's like freak out of the cough, and then you can easily win the game by just having someone cough, and everyone else freak out, and you go and do whatever you have to do, even you fake it, right? So I'm with you. Look, I get it. The owners don't. Each of these sports, as a league, let's say, and each team as a result, in total, are going to lose millions to billions of dollars, right? The Yankees are projected to lose, even with a half season, something like $350 million, right? Wow. With a big market team. And I get, but you know what? I mean, the Yankees could weather that, to be honest. I mean, they won't die losing $350 million. It'll just be a really terrible year, right? But, ultimately safety first. And if we, it's fascinating when it's first hit, when things first hit, in the very beginning, I remember I was listening to the Major League Baseball channel, which I often do to fall asleep. And they were sad, like the broadcasters were really sad, and they said, I don't know what we're going to talk about. And ESPN, I remember, was wondering how they're going to do it. And everyone's wondering, what's fascinating, because of the richness of sports in general and the histories, they've all pretty much gone historic and started filling up airtime easily with things people are engaged with, like arguing over the top whatever players of all time in this, that. They're getting really esoteric. It's like the top right fielder in each team's history.
Wait a minute. Did you like spy on the one thing I was going to bring up?
I actually did see that.
We'll get into that later, of course.
I did see that, but that's cool stuff to sports fans. Okay, so what's those thoughts about free agency in years? Look, honestly, so Adrian, those you don't know, is asking a question right now. It says, what are your thoughts about free agency and years being counted on contracts for MLB? From my personal standpoint, honestly, give them a pass, right? I get all the financial reasons why the owners don't want to do that, or why the players don't want to do that, really, but the reality is, it's theoretically there's two ways to view it. If you're viewing it legally, it's the years you're under contract, and that's fair to say that it counts whether you're playing or not. That is a fair statement. If you're being fan friendly, so to speak, or if you're being sacrificial, you say, well, it's the years. If I'm under contract 8 years, I play baseball 7 of those years. The 8th year, because of this extraordinary situation, I'm willing to, for some, maybe you can work out some form of compensation, make it an option, some sort of option. I'm willing to extend another year of the contract. Is that going to happen? No. The players are not exactly known for not being greedy, right? So, the vast majority of them will say no, because, the same argument's made when a player's injured for an entire year. It still counts to his contract, right? So, what do you think, Brent, on that one? That's an interesting question to me.
It is an interesting, because I'm thinking about like the NFL, the rookie contracts are like 5 years, and I think in the 5th year the team has the option to take on the 5th year. So what if you're or you're in that 4th or 5th year area, and you are trying to get to your next contract, because that's where the big money is really made. Do you get forced to wait an additional year because of this?
Yeah,
that's kind of a sticky kind of thing, because you didn't really play for, let's say, the NFL for whatever reason,
right.
The whole season is out. So you've been with the team 5 years, but you've only played 4 years. Do you get to go do your free agency year, or are you forced to play another year under that current contract?
I'm guessing legally, and this is a guess, they can go to free agency. And I think that is the consideration right now. It would be nice if they were altruistic enough to extend it. But again, there isn't there isn't a single player on the planet, even the nicest guy, who probably, like Bernie Williams, wouldn't have even done that. And I don't know that there was a nicer human being than Bernie Williams, right? So, and much less, the entire NFL. So, who are not all that nice. There are some great humanitarians there. Don't get me wrong. Would I do that? I don't know. I honestly don't know. I'd like to say, yeah, sure, I would do that, but who am I benefiting other than the owners?
Yeah, I'm like, and then you got this case of Dak Prescott. Believe me, I really don't care what happens with the Cowboys, but this is an interesting circumstance. He is, I think he's in his 5th year, and they're looking there, and they have these negotiations going on, and I think the last I heard is like they're trying to get him to sign to a 5-year contract, and he wants a 4-year contract, and I think they're offering like 35 million or something like that. But the thing is, the contract hasn't been done yet, And
Oh,
what does this situation do to the negotiations? I mean, is there does this make it less likely for them to want to get a deal done in the near term? Are they waiting around to see how things play out? I mean, it's a tough situation.
yeah. The problem. I guess the problem is ultimately as fans, um, it's hard to sympathize with either side in these things. That's the thing.
Yeah.
I think both of them suck as when it comes to like the humanity. So again, I don't want to paint that broad a brush. I mean, there are obviously very good people on at least the player side. I can't speak.
There are some, but what was the guy, the baseball guy that we brought
Blake
up?
Snell. Oh my God.
Yeah, there's guys like him, and then there's the feed my family defense of Latrell
Right.
Sprewell, where he couldn't feed his family on $21 million or
I
something
know
like that.
because his family drank liquid gold every morning. And that was gold was an all-time high price, and he was following that market. So yeah, their greed is staggering. Well, it's really some of it's greed, and some of it's just like lack of perspective completely, right? I mean, it's like they have no idea how much better off they are than the rest of the world, which is funny because there's a significant number of them who came from poverty, right, or at least less, let's say, less financially stable circumstance. So, and in fact, I'd say for the most part, majority of them came from that. Not poor, not necessarily poor or poverty stricken. Oh, see, now that's interesting. So Adrian just pops in that Major League Baseball gave him a refund on MLB TV, but he had to chase him because I don't have a refund yet. So I'm going to now have to chase him. Okay, so okay. See, I'm telling you, Adrian's giving us fodder.
You know what? That's actually, so we've been talking about what the kind of the distinction between the owners and the players. What do all these folks owe us?
Yeah,
what do they owe the fans?
They owe me $121. So, yeah, right. It's like to Adrian's point. So think about this. So MLB TV is an enormously lucrative venture for Major League Baseball, as a league, and the app is tied to it, and they charge. It's a premium charge. It's $121 a year. It's different than Extra Bases. That's I will thank you, sir. It's different than Extra Bases, which is more for DirecTV and other kind of satellite TV special packages. This is internet based, every game, with a couple of less things, but for the most part, every game covered thoroughly. And it's about 120 plus a year. And you know what? DirecTV, when it came to MLB, they gave me the money. They sent a note out to everybody and said, to Extra Base, they sent a note out to everyone and said, look, we don't know where this is going, or we're not going to start your because it's automatic, right? They're not going to start your subscription until we know. And even then, we're going to ask you if you want to, sustain it, and it will be prorated to how much of the season is dealing with that. Then MLB TV, nothing, absolutely nothing. They just took my money and cavalierly have ignored what's gone on. The fact that they don't even have any games for any season right now. They haven't even offered like a refund or anything. And minimally, look, I love having that service. I love it. I use it all over the world. But I wouldn't mind keeping some of it and paying for some of it. But they're not even giving me an offer or an option. They're not being proactive at all to a fan. We're the fans who sustain that friggin' leadership. That friggin' league, right? And they don't do anything. So they owe minimally. You know what they owe you? They owe you, if you actually in some way have invested in them financially, they owe you a response to that and how that's getting handled. That's one. The second thing, as fans, they owe us continuous communication, right? Whether we're paying for them or not, because you and I have talked about this a million times. What you do now is going to be how you're judged later, and they're going to be judged pretty harshly if they don't get more responsive overall. They owe us Major League Baseball. If I have to pick a league that's probably handled this the worst, other than the NFL with their stupid comment the other day. If the NFL hadn't made that comment, I wouldn't have said that, because the NFL draft was kind of a tour de force and how to do it right, when it came to the draft. But that comment saying full stadiums with fans,
yeah,
puts them as number one on the absolutely stupidest league response possible. But baseball as a whole has been a nightmare thing. They've been acrimonious in the negotiations with the players. They've communicated nothing to the fans. And when they get the chance to keep our money, they just keep it without even saying, look, we'll work out something. They don't even bother, right? So, and as you saw, Adrian also has problems getting his tickets back, his ticket refunds for games that aren't even going to be played. So MLB, man, straighten up your friggin' act, really. Get your act straight. This is ridiculous.
It is.
And
so ridiculous.
And I'm so mad at them now. Honestly, when we started this whole thing, I had no intention of talking about them at all, but now I'm furious.
Ruined my. Right, we better switch gears. I want to go. And if Adrian wants to join us,
you want to come on, Adrian?
Yeah, let us know. But in the meantime, I'm going to go back to this because I did find this. These list things always talk about things that can really get you going, and some of these lists are pretty terrible. So I want to see what we think of this. So I'm going to pop up the top 15 players in NBA history. Now, this is going to spark something here. So let's just go. I think it goes from 15 down to 1. So I'm going to start. I'm not going to show the whole list. Let's just see. We'll go one by one. Jerry West, top 15 of all time. I can see it. Let's put it like this. His impact, if it's just playing, it's close.
Right.
But if you talk about, he's the logo, for crying out loud, and the impact he's had, not just on the Lakers as a player, but he's one of the greatest GMs there ever was. He GM, and also like he was never the GM for the Golden State Warriors, the current, the ones before all hell broke loose.
Yeah.
But he was the guy who said, I am not trading away not Steph, but Clay. He said, there's no way I'm trading Clay. He is the guy who made the trade with to get Kobe to the Lakers.
Wow.
Trade away Vlade Divac or something like that. Yeah. That was just a thievery, a great job of stealing. But so if you think of what he's meant to the NBA overall, hands down, as a player, just a player, it's kind of on the borderline for me.
So I am complete. I would say again, borderline top 15. Although, if you do look at the numbers there, think about it. He averaged 27 points a game. That's pretty astonishing number. Look, it was a different world back then. You had people. You remember when Kobe hit 60 and then he hit 80, and he was hitting like these. Back then, you had that the 60 at least was happening not frequently, but way more frequently than it was later on. So Kobe's was like the one time in years where Elgin Baylor was hitting 60 at least once a year, right?
Yeah.
People like that. Jerry West would hit 50 every now and then. Wilt, of course, in 61, 62, averages 50.4 points a game.
And 25 rebounds.
Right, which is like, you're never going to see those numbers again.
Never. And remember, there was one year that Wilt said, everybody just says, all I do is shoot. I'll show them. And then he led the league in assists for 1 year. So you look at Jerry West's numbers here, and 27 points a game, 5.8 rebounds a game. And again, he was a big guy, but rebounds wasn't his main task, right? And yet he still was getting about 6. And then almost 7. We'll bring you on in a few minutes, sir. Be ready. And almost 7 assists a game, which is so his numbers are really, really good. But to your point, you remember 15 is really that's top 15 of
all time.
Everybody.
No, that's what I'm
That's
saying.
that's. I will say he needs to be in the conversation at the least.
And remember how excited you and I were when we walked past him at
Oh,
the.
I was like a little kid.
Oh, yeah, me too. And what we did is walk past him. Really, right? So, but it's like that's a pretty formidable thing when you walk past Jerry West standing in a hallway on our way into the Oracle Arena, right?
Yeah.
It was really something.
Hey, I'm sorry. He's the logo. How can you
Yeah.
not? All right. So we're so far we think he should be in the conversation.
Yes.
So we'll go to number 14. Oh, okay. Yeah, he's in for me. That's all I'm gonna say.
No, I'm with you. This is a no contest.
Oops. All right. Since that's a no con, we both agree.
No
Steph.
Okay.
This is kind of like I think eventually he will be. He's all right. Look, he's a 2-time MVP, the only unanimous MVP,
right?
3-time champion, the best shooter of all time.
I go, and he's also face of the league.
And yeah, and he was on a team. He led the team that has the best record, at least regular season record. All right, he's in. I kind of talked myself into it because I don't think there's any way you can keep him out when he's the absolute best shooter of all time, 2-time MVP, 3-time champion, one only unanimous MVP pick.
See, and you know what? I'm almost there. I don't want to say I'm 100% on that one, only because most of the people I'm presuming when we see the top 15 have finished their career, right?
That's true.
He hasn't. And if he tanks, which I don't expect, but if he tanks for the next 3 or 4 years, that could take him right out of the top 15.
Yeah, I just don't see that happening.
I don't either. But that's what I'm saying. The only germ of a doubt I have on him is that he's not done with his career yet. And the rest
that's true.
And the rest are complete.
Yeah, that's true. You gotta say that much. So far everybody's been done. So let's go to. Oh yeah, this is a no-brainer. This is a no-brainer.
To be honest, for me, he's too low.
Yeah,
I have him in the top 10. Just because Big O is, for his era, was unbelievable. I mean, even in the era of Jerry West and Wilt Chamberlain and Bill Russell and you know, and even look at, you know, people like we were discussing last week, was it Hal Greer and Sam Jones and other of these, you know, these amazing
Casey Jones, Sam Jones,
that whole team really. But in the era of amazing number of Hall of Famers, he still stands out.
Well, I mean, let's face it. Up until Russell Westbrook, he was the only guy that did a triple-double for the year, and that took like 30, 40 years before anybody else did it.
And he was also shooting like 460 and 470 when people were shooting 420, right? You know, he was literally that much better a player.
There's a stat. Are you looking at? I don't know exactly what goes into the win share, but look at his win share, and I'm just going to go back up to the other folks on this list.
Well, he's
103.
Lifetime, so that doesn't count. 181.
That's Jerry. So that's pretty close.
And Jerry was 160 something. So, yeah, no, actually, yeah, but there you go. So Big O is sitting at 189. Well, we'll see as we go down further what their win is, but let's keep 189.2. So my only case here is that I think he belongs higher on the list.
All right. Yeah, I could see that. Now, Hakeem Olajuwon, he belongs on this list somewhere for me. 2-time NBA champion, MVP, all NBA. He was a great defensive player. I think he's about where he should be. Maybe I would put him a little higher up. I mean, not higher up. I mean, I guess lower down on the 15 because Jerry West. I I'll just say I believe he should be there, and I'll leave it at that.
Well, I think Hakeem. I think Julius Erving should be a little higher on the list too.
Julius Erving made the ABA, the NBA merge with the ABA.
Yeah.
That's how big he was. I mean, he was great with the Sixers, but his best years were in the ABA, and he owned the league.
Yeah.
Nobody did the things he did before he did them.
Yeah, guys like I remember George Gervin and those guys, but they were nothing compared to him.
You know, George was great with the finger roll, but Dr. J, he owned the league, and they won. His teams won two. I think did he win with one with the Virginia Squires and one with the Nets? I know he won 2 championships out of the last 3 before the merger.
Well, I know the Squires. I don't remember the Nets though winning.
I think he won one with the Nets, and I think he won one with the Squires before he went to the Nets.
And the other thing with Dr. J too is he was a force beyond the court too.
I want to see if they have anything interesting here. All right, so he was an NBA. He was an MVP in 1981 for the Sixers too. I forgot that. So he was an ABA MVP and an NBA MVP. He won 2 championships in the NBA. He won 1 championship in the NBA. Wow. Yeah, 3-time champion. Yeah, I mean his win shares are really high.
Yeah, well, second to Oscar, Big O right now. The thing with Irving too, though, that I always remember is he was an actual force beyond the court itself. Off the field, so to speak.
He took the NBA to another level of interest because you could almost say you had Magic and Bird, you had Jordan, and I'm trying to think of anybody current day who really took the league to the next level, not like those 3. And then you had Dr. J. Dr. J was one of those guys who took the league from a visibility standpoint to the next level.
Yeah.
And then Magic and Bird came along and they did the same. And then Jordan came along and he did the same. And maybe LeBron, I don't, maybe he did the same. I don't know.
And it's 50-50 with him because a lot of what he did is him. Right. But, but he's an interesting conundrum, right, as a person altogether, because he has some really great things he does, and then he has some really dumb things he does, which I guess he's like everyone else. But he really, I mean, there's a lot of him that you're amazed that have nothing to do with basketball that he does, right, with LeBron. So, but to that end, he became, and he would be the greatest. He might have potentially been the greatest ambassador in the history of the NBA, except he got too self-consumed at different times to make that happen, right? And other than that, there's nobody really more active off the court than LeBron is. I mean, he is like an everything.
Adrian, no, because to me there is no comparison. No, sorry, there is no comparison.
Adrian, about 3:45, we'll bring you on.
Yeah. So yeah, we won't be doing that. All right, so we're getting to the top 10 here.
All right.
Oh yeah. I mean, come on.
Telling you, so easy.
This guy, I mean, 15-time All-Star. No, All NBA.
Right.
He was like a 19-time All-Star or something like that.
So what was his win shares? 172.7. That makes him 3rd or 4th highest on this list. I think 3rd highest.
Something like that.
Well,
I thought there was a couple of guys.
We had 160s and it was 189. 181, which was
I think that was Doc.
J. Steph is again. The win share is a lifetime, so that
he's still in a work in progress. Yeah. And then Jerry West was 162. Okay, so 170.
Well, no, win shares are pretty accurate reflection. It's basically it's a little more complicated than wins above replacement. It's basically, and I'm kind of bastardizing it. It's basically if you hadn't been on your team, with you on the team, how many games did they win that you impacted in a way that, in effect, helped them win?
Yeah. Well, I mean, he played for 20 years, which is astounding,
Right.
and I think he made the All-Star game like 19 times or something like that.
There's 15 times All NBA too.
Yeah, All NBA. Yeah, and of course he won 5
Which,
titles. So
I mean, look, the guy, and he was the league during his era when it boiled down to it. With all the other stars in that pantheon,
right.
Kobe always stood out by
Yeah,
far.
you had Kobe and then LeBron kind of.
Came in.
Yeah.
LeBron came in the sort of Kobe fading out era, so to speak, which is never.
So you got to wonder. Okay, so if Kobe's does this mean that Shaq has to be higher? Because
that
I would assume Shaq would be on this, but we'll see. So
well, looks like his face in the picture right there with Kobe.
that would yeah. So all right, no, Tim Duncan, absolutely,
Yeah,
he gets my vote for this.
Yeah, he does. Although for me, he's a little more marginal, meaning I think he belongs in the top 15. I don't know if I think he belongs at number 9.
Look at his win shares.
Holy crap, he belongs at number 9. Yeah. Holy God! Well, it's 19 years.
He was the foundation of 5 NBA championships.
Wow, that win share number is astounding.
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm surprised he's only 19 points per game, but
yeah. Well, again, look at his rebounds too.
Yeah, he's a 19, almost a 1911 guy.
Those are numbers.
But he was the foundation upon which the Spurs dynasty was built.
And I would call him the ultimate team player too.
And I would say now this is tough. I can see why he's above Kobe.
Okay, why do you think?
Kobe, those first 3 championships were Shaq and Kobe. Shaq led and Kobe. The last 2 were all Kobe. All 5 of those Spurs, Duncan was the foundation. He was the guy.
He was the hub. That was the thing with him. He wasn't just like the biggest spoke, which is Kobe. The last 2 championships was kind of the biggest spoke. This guy was the hub of nonstop. The reason I used to love watching him play is because he was so complete. I mean, and he ran the court, right?
He was like a modern day to me, because I never saw him play. He's what I thought Bill Russell must have been like back in the day, to a certain extent.
Yeah, Bill Russell was honestly, as a defender, and as a team leader,
Bill was
number 1. Yeah. Well, number 1 of all time to me as far as that goes.
Right,
all time. And if he ended up, I know he won't be, but if he ends up number 1 on this list, I would not complain.
Oh, I'll never complain about.
No, Bill Russell was one of the he was in Boston for God's sake, but he's one of my heroes, really.
Right.
Especially when he was playing.
But don't tell Bob Fagel that.
No,
I'd never be able to live that down. No. All right, so we're in agreement with that. Number 8. This is gonna start getting really good here. Yeah, Larry Bird. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nope. We just answered another one too. Well, they're so close together.
Yeah.
I'm okay with both of these.
Yeah, me too. I mean, Shaq is funny with all of how absolutely and how visible and how intelligent the guy is. He gets constantly underestimated for what he really is and was.
Look at his win shares. They're above Kobe, and he played in a lot less years.
Oh, it's amazing, actually. I mean,
and Bird's win shares. Well, Bird didn't play that long. A lot of people forget Bird was kind of old when he came into the league. I think he was like 24, 25, 26 when he came into the league.
Wow.
So he was a lot older than Magic.
That's amazing. Look at Shaq's. No, look at Shaq though. I've always been a Shaq fan. And the other thing with Shaq is his body type was just kind of big. And it wasn't like he didn't look like this highly muscled, big but lean.
He was just huge.
Right. He was just like this giant. He sometimes seemed like he was a giant lump, right? But the guy was an astounding athlete, right? He could do everything, and I mean, he was just physical. I guess is the only way to put it. Like this physical guy.
That one thing about Bird. A member of the ultra exclusive 50-40-90 shooting club. I know Steph is in there.
Really? So who else
Yeah.
would be in there? Him, Steph.
I I got maybe the guy from that played with the Sixers and then with the Cavs, Kyle Korver. He might be in there,
Really?
but he's not on the same level as
No.
Stephen Bird. But
Well, we're not going to be seeing him on this list.
no. All right. So number 6. Now we're getting down to the 6.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Wow, that's tough.
He might be underrated. I don't
Look at
know.
his, no, I want you to take a look at his lifetime average and rebounds.
And look at the win shares. That's by far the best so far.
Right. Yeah, well, that's what you expect, though. I mean, the guy was, there was no, I mean, he was dominating in so many different ways.
Like, there will never be another 30, 22, almost 23 lifetime.
So Adrian's managed to do the research for us, and he's got the full 50, 40, 90 club. Larry Bird,
wow, okay.
Malcolm Brogdon, Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, Reggie Miller, Steve Nash. That's a surprise. I guess not really if you think.
Yeah, he was a good shooter.
He was a great shooter, actually. But Dirk Nowitzki and Mark Price. Huh.
That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, that's great. Well, we'll have him on, and as soon as we get down, finish this list, Adrian comes on.
Yeah. Okay, so Wilt is obvious.
Yeah.
The win shares. That's amazing. Of course, this is obvious too. Magic.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I have a funny feeling the top 5 are going to be completely obvious, and the top 3 will be like, maybe there'll be a question of, should this one be 1? Should this one be 2? Should this one be 3?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah. We're only be quibbling with placement, but
yeah, that's all. Because these top 5 are going to be an easy top 5, I suspect.
I had no idea Magic played in 1996. That must have been just a one game kind of thing.
Yeah, maybe like a retirement with a team kind of thing.
Yeah, that has to be it. I forget, 3-time MVP.
And still kicking, man.
Yep, 5-time champion. All right, so number 4. Now this is where it's going to get dicey for me.
Okay, let's see.
It's not about them being on the list; it's about placement. Because if
all right, well, let's run those kind of together so we can discuss placement. Can you pull it? Like pull the,
okay.
Pull it? Let's discuss placement on the last 4.
Bill.
Okay.
I'm glad he's in the top 5, I believe. Wow. Kareem. We hadn't mentioned. Look at Kareem's win shares.
Oh my God. Completely.
That blows everybody else away.
Not shocking, though. 20 years, too. LeBron, okay. Number 2. Well, look at his win shares, though. And he's still playing.
He's been playing for 17 years.
And those win shares are pretty high for the guy playing 17 years.
So this is going to be interesting.
And number 1's going to be easy who it is.
It is, but I'm wondering how many win shares.
Yeah, me too. After all that. Really.
Before, you want to take a guess? He played 13 full seasons with the Bulls, and he did play like 1 or 2 seasons with the Wizards.
Okay, so let's say 215. I'm giving him a lot of credit, actually, though. That's 15 seasons.
I'm gonna say maybe he's a little higher.
Okay.
So ready? Okay, here it is.
Okay.
3. Wait.
No.
Wait, no.
214.
Wow, you were really close.
Wow,
you said 215, didn't you?
215, yeah.
That's amazing.
Well, because I know win shares. It's like one of these stats I study for. This win shares exceed just basketball, and the funny thing is, I mean, if you're getting in a season 15 to 17 win shares, that's a lot. Usually the number's like 1 or 2, unless you're great. So
they got him for 10 years the first time around, 3 years the second time around, and 3 years. Actually, 2 years with the Wizards. So that's 15 years total. And by the time he was with the Wizards, let's face it, he was done. I mean, he was not the same person.
No. No,
Not the same
no.
person at all.
Now, okay, so the top 4 that we were looking at, it's hard. It's really hard to dispute that top 4. LeBron's second is kind of a stretch for me.
I'll go top 5 because Magic is
Okay. So if I had to move anybody, I'd move LeBron out of number 2.
I probably would do the same at this point. Although, I mean, his
numbers are again off the charts.
Yeah,
but so are
4-time MVP. That's true too.
I mean, if I had to put him somewhere else, I might put him. I put Kareem possibly as number 2. Actually,
I think I would actually move Kareem to number 2.
Yeah, me too, and move LeBron down to 3, and I think that would be okay.
Kareem has 6 MVPs to go along with 6. No, he's got 6 MVPs and 6 NBA championships.
Yeah, and 273 win shares.
And I mean, I think Kareem gets really overlooked in a lot of this greatest talk, and it's really a shame. Maybe because the sky hook wasn't the most electrifying move or whatever.
Well, but maybe because he was so outspoken.
He did have a different personality.
I loved him. Oh my God, I used to love him.
And then there's Bill. Bill, when you look at it, Bill only played for 14 years.
I know, it's hard to believe because he was so dominating as a player. And I will tell you one last thing, and then maybe we can bring Adrian on to talk.
Yep.
I was watching it, the way it used to be when you were in the 60s. You would watch, it would be nationally televised game, but it would be a game. You couldn't watch like any one team much. And obviously when it was Bill Russell versus Will Chamberlain, that game got a national television audience, right? And it was on NBC, I think. So one day I'm watching a game, and I think I've talked about this before, but I'm watching a game and Russell is going up against Chamberlain for a rebound, and they shatter the glass into 1 trillion pieces. The two of them hit the backboard, shattered into 1 trillion pieces. Takes an hour and a half to clean up. It's such a mess, right? The two of them, just the sheer force of hitting the backboard, destroyed that backboard. And don't forget, we weren't dealing with just glass. You're dealing with reinforced glass. You're not dealing with just a thin pane. You're dealing with reinforced glass, which was thick glass. And it was this awesome display of just absolute strength and power simultaneously hit. It's like Thor and I don't know, the Hulk, hitting each other at the same time and creating a force that even went beyond the two of them. I never, to this day, I was probably 11, 12 years old, and I still remember it like it happened yesterday, because it was so like, oh, wow, that kind of feeling watching those two do that. But that was what it was like, to see. Amazing.
Do you have a way to get
Adrian? Can we drop it in on LinkedIn to him?
Yeah, you got.
I'll have to get it up. Let me get it. I have to bring up.
Let's see. Oh, maybe I can do it real quick.
Okay.
Let's see. There you go, Adrian.
Oh, you got it?
It should be there for you. Give it a shot. And because we got like 11 minutes, so let's see
if we
can bring him in real quick.
Come on in. We'll have him tell him all right about him, and then go from there.
So while he's doing that, give me a name of someone you think was overlooked and should have been in here. That
I was trying to think of that, but it's so hard given that these 15. This is actually a good list.
It's a solid list.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, I'm trying to look. Ultimately, with me, it's going to be someone from the 60s. No. There he is. All right, I'll have to defer. Hi, Adrian.
Good to see you.
How you doing, man?
Yeah.
Well,
all right, I tell you, since we only got about 10 minutes, first tell people about who you are and what you do, and then we definitely got a question to ask you.
So my name's Adrian. I'm the head of community for Vanilla Forums, a SaaS community platform, and used by many of the brands around the world to connect their fans and customers, do support in many different ways. It's
Well, your Vanilla Forums also, aside from the fact that it happens to be good as a platform, it's filling a vacuum that's been left too by other players who have just been, let's say, become miserable, where Vanilla Forums keeps evolving and growing and being better and better. So, yeah, kudos to you guys that you took advantage of that too. All right, so what is it? First of all, who do you root for in baseball? Who are your team allegiances? And then what is it about baseball that you do miss? But first, your team allegiances.
Well, first, let me say, my heart will always belong to the Montreal Expos because I'm from Montreal.
Fair enough.
Hopefully one day they return. However, without a team in Montreal, it naturally falls that I have obviously some allegiance to the Canadian team in Toronto.
Fair enough.
But historically, I'm with the Yankees because my grandfather is originally from New York, and I grew up all the New York teams. That you would go when I went to his house, it was you watch the Giants and you watch the Yankees, and if you try to change the channel, you would get hit. along with multiple arguments about Biellis versus bagels, smoked meat versus pastrami. You know, my dad and him would get into those, knockdown kind of conversations.
All right, so you got to tell us, what do you have any allegiance when it comes to football?
Oh, it's the Giants. It's
okay. We're good.
This is
I didn't pay me or anything. This is why I was really looking forward to that series in Toronto against the Yankees, because I knew that it would be a great game. I mean, you've got, Guerrero, who's young, Bichette, Biggio, that core the Blue Jays have put together is super exciting. And then, of course, the Yankees having Judge and all the other.
Well, pretty much everybody they need.
And everybody, right? They have all the great players. I mean, it's literally just a walking Hall of Fame. But like I was telling you, MLB was super easy on getting my money. But so what happened is I reached out to them on Twitter, and they sent an automated message to me, and I was able to they fully refunded me for the whole season. Now, they did warn me. They put like last season's games on, but I mean, that's not
why you buy that. Who needs that?
That's not why I buy it. But the tickets, I haven't heard anything. I think they're dreaming that there's going to be some playing happening. Although I have to say, I can't say for the Yankees. I'm obviously on the mailing list for the Blue Jays because that's how I the games. They've been doing a lot of virtual hours where the players are coming on and are interacting with the fans, which has been
that's really good, actually.
Yeah.
They've been doing a really good job of outreach, and they did like a Zoom call. They're going to have their second Zoom call, I think, like next week. It's like 5,000 fans. Get your ticket. Pre-submit your questions to the players. It's behind the scenes. They had Montoya was playing the bongos, and had Rowdy Tellez was there, and a couple of the players. So it was a lot of fun although, like you, MLB, as I'm traveling, that's like my sleep cure, after.
Exactly. Well, so let's say two-part question. We got 6 minutes, and we have today's one of those days we can't go over. Okay, so question is, what do you miss about baseball? But the question too is, the first question that we had, what is it that the leagues and the teams are doing wrong too about how they're handling this whole thing? So first, what is it about baseball you just miss?
To me, like when I close my eyes, it's an outdoor game with the roof open and a nice cold beer and a hot dog and the camaraderie of just, there's nothing like a baseball game. I know a lot of people think it's boring to watch on TV, but when you go in person, there's no better way to spend an afternoon at the ballpark.
Yeah, stadium experience matters in baseball, where in football it's negative.
And the thing was, like, I was trying to, in the chat, I was kind of saying, I was trying to rationalize in my head. I'm like, well, baseball, if you think about it, of all the sports, they're not really next to one another. If you think about it, you're in the outfield. I mean, granted, if you're holding a guy at first, maybe there's an issue. And then Brent obviously was right. They're spitting and they're doing that on the ball. But, if you look at hockey, they're one on top of one another. Football, they're on top of one another. Baseball is, at least you could kind of see they could get away maybe. And, let's be honest, Tampa Bay has been playing in front of nobody for many years.
The Marlins.
Yeah, the Marlins,
right.
So, if you recall, I think there was a game Baltimore played. I think it was like there was a hurricane or something, and Baltimore played in an empty stadium, although it was very strange to watch it on TV.
Well, Oh no, that actually is an odd thing. Like there was a very famous Yankees game many years ago when they were really bad, and Red Barber was still the broadcaster. And the tradition back then was when there was low attended games, you never moved your cameras over the.
Right.
The Yankees had, I am not kidding, there were 413 fans in the ballpark, right? And Red Barber said, "Show it," and they showed it, and he got fired.
Well, I mean, listen, I did earlier, right? I'm a Montreal Expos in my heart, but I mean, we all know what happened to them near the end. But that's about ownership and not fan love. I mean, because if they build that stadium downtown, if that ever happens, I'm already on a list for season tickets, and I know there's a whole bunch of people waiting. So
yeah. So final question. You got 2 minutes. Okay, this is your 2-minute answer. What is it that these leagues are doing that you think is just ridiculous given COVID-19 that they're claiming to do, that they want to do? That what is it?
Well, I mean, I think that this is the challenge that they're trying to make something happen that can't in a weird way. Like hockey having a 2014 playoff is kind of ridiculous. The statement by the NFL about full stadiums. I mean, I think there needs to be some reality. I mean, you gentlemen know, like, there's a lot of industry events that have been canceled for the whole year. I think companies have realized. Who was it that I heard about? I think it was Salesforce. I think it was Salesforce canceled for the whole year. Right? They've accepted it, but there are still some companies that I mean, if I relate it back to business, there's some companies that are like, well, we're going to have our event in September, and I'm like, I don't know where you're seeing that happening, because even as a sponsor, I mean, what do we all go to really the events to? It's the network. And the reality is most people that I've talked to are not planning to go to any of these events. So I don't see how there's any value in that. And then sports wise, that's kind of what my concern is. I mean, there's going to be players. I think Mike Trout was even saying, like, he doesn't want to play. Like, he's like, he's like number one player. He's like, I don't want to play because I'm nervous about, I have a pregnant wife or I have young kids. I can't take the risk. So I don't know. As much as I want to have baseball back, I do recognize too that, playing all the games in Arizona and holding up the whole team and support staff, because it's that whole thing, right? You have the support staff, you need the medical staff, you need the trainers. They'd all have to like sequester themselves in a hotel in Arizona. I mean, how would you do that? It just doesn't.
Well, ultimately, it's just the owners don't want to lose money. They're going to lose money, but the owners don't want to lose any more money, so they're willing to pretty much destroy like the thing that makes people love sports, which partly the tradition, right, and put people at risk so they can make money. That's pretty much what's going on, and because there's no logical reason why any of the season should actually be completed or happen at this point. Everyone's used to the fact that they're not. It's not like the fans are going, oh my God, I'm never going to follow baseball or football or whatever again because there's no season this year. We all recognize there's extenuating circumstances that we're all part of that make this,
Well, I think that's why the NFL's freaking out, right? Because there's a potential there being no Super Bowl this year, which would be for them.
Good point.
I can't even imagine there not being a Super Bowl, but that's potentially what will end up happening. Unless, what are they going to do? Have like a 1-game playoff?
You're right. And with that, we've got to close. But it was awesome having you on the show. We like the idea of ad hoc fan engagement.
Right. Yeah, we welcome that. Yeah, that's right.
All right.
Well, very cool. So, Brent Leary.
I'm Paul Greenberg.
I'm Adrian.
There it is. And we are the CRM Players. We will see you next week for the happy hour and CRM Weekly and another Excuse the Intrusion. Have a great weekend.
Salam.
Hi, everyone.